The weekend in Vermont had begun like every other reunion trip. But for Emma Collins, something felt different the moment she stepped out of the car. Maybe it was the late summer breeze, maybe the quiet lake behind the cabin, or maybe it was Noah Reed standing on the porch, smiling at her as if he had been waiting, not in an obvious way, but in a way that made her heart move a little quicker. They had known each other for years, studied together in college, shared the same group of friends, but they had never shared anything more than warm conversations and familiar jokes. Still, as she walked toward him, the air between them carried a new weight she couldn't explain. Inside the cabin, their friends were already unpacking groceries, making noise, filling the space with the easy chaos of old friendship. Ava, the most outspoken among them, noticed the way Emma and Noah stood a little too still near each other. She raised her eyebrows, nudged Liam, and whispered something that made him laugh. Emma didn't hear the words, but she could feel the curious energy forming, as if the group was already building a quiet story around them. Later, when the sun dipped toward the lake, everyone decided to decorate the porch with fairy lights. The cabin was old, the porch railing uneven, and the lights tangled in a box that looked older than half of them. Noah volunteered to help Emma untangle them, and the rest of the group didn't bother hiding the way they watched the two working together. Emma stood on a small step stool, trying to loop the lights around the wooden beam above. Noah held the end of the string, gently pulling when she needed slack. Their teamwork felt natural, smooth, almost rehearsed, even though they had never done anything like this together before. Their friends gathered around the porch with drinks and soft music playing. Notice the way they moved together without having to talk much. Ava leaned forward. Look at them. They don't even realize it. Her voice wasn't loud, but it carried enough for everyone else to turn their heads. Emma didn't notice at first. She was too focused on getting the lights straight, trying not to slip off the stool. Noah stood close enough that she felt the warmth of him even without looking down. When she finished tying the last loop, she stepped down, and their fingers brushed as she handed him the remaining string. The touch lasted only a second, but the spark it brought was undeniable. It wasn't electric in a dramatic sense, more like a soft reminder of something they both had ignored for too long. Ava and Liam exchanged another glance, this one more certain, almost satisfied. Emma felt something was happening behind her. Some whispered reaction she wasn't prepared for, but Noah simply smiled, unaware of the attention they were getting. Good teamwork, said. Yeah, she answered, her voice softer than she intended. We've still got it. He raised an eyebrow. Did we ever lose it? Emma couldn't help smiling. The porch lights began to glow, spreading a warm golden shimmer across the cabin walls. Everyone clapped playfully, making the moment bigger than it was. Emma felt her cheeks warm. She knew they were being watched, but for some reason she didn't feel uncomfortable. Instead, she felt supported, as if the people around her were rooting for something she wasn't ready to admit. Inside, while setting the table, Ava whispered again. They look like a couple from a movie. No, Liam replied. More like to people who need a push. Then maybe we push, Ava said. Grinning, Emma and Noah walked inside after finishing the lights, unaware of the conversation but feeling the room shift the moment they entered. Their friends weren't being obvious, but the extra smiles, the too calm casual questions, the small glances toward each other, it all created an atmosphere that felt both sweet and strangely intense. During dinner, Emma found herself sitting next to Noah, not because she planned it, but because everyone somehow arranged themselves in a way that made those seats the only ones left. The group talked about old stories, shared memories from younger days, late-night study sessions, road trips, small arguments over whose turn it was to buy snacks. Emma laughed more than usual. Noah did too. Every time she turned to say something to him, he was already looking at her. Their friends noticed. After dinner, they all moved to the fireplace. The air grew cooler, and Noah brought Emma a blanket without her asking. She thanked him with a soft glance, and again. Their friends exchanged looks, quiet, amused, hopeful looks. Ava spoke up. Do you remember that time in college when Noah waited outside Emma's photography class because he thought she was upset? Emma almost choked on her drink. Ava, why would you bring that up now? Because it was sweet, Ava said innocently. And because he waited almost an hour, Noah rubbed the back of his neck. I was just checking on a friend. Lime smirked. Sure, a friend. The teasing was gentle. Not the kind that embarrassed, but the kind that nudged, encouraged, hinted. Emma felt her heart beating a little quicker with every subtle comment. She wasn't annoyed. She wasn't shy. She wasn't even confused. She simply felt aware. Aware of Noah, aware of her own heartbeat, aware of her friend's quiet hope. The fire crackled. The room dimmed to warm orange light, and the conversation softened into peaceful murmurs. Emma sat with her hands folded on her lap, wondering why tonight felt different from all the other reunions they had ever had. Maybe the quiet eyes around them had made her see something she had ignored for years. Maybe Noah's simple kindnesses, which she once thought were just friendly gestures, meant more than she allowed herself to believe. When Noah shifted closer so she could share the blanket better, she didn't move away. She didn't think about it too hard. She simply let the warmth settle between them. Ava whispered to Liam, "It's starting." Emma caught the whisper, not the words, but the tone. She didn't turn around. She didn't need to. She already knew the direction her friends were pushing. And surprisingly, she didn't resist. Something unspoken was forming. Delicate, yet unmistakable. The night ended with everyone saying goodnight. But Emma stayed awake longer than she planned, thinking about the looks exchanged. The way Noah's eyes lingered on her just a moment longer than usual. And the quiet approval in the faces of their friends as she lay under the soft cabin lights. She whispered to herself, "Why does it suddenly matter what he thinks of me?" And somewhere across the hall, Noah wondered the same thing, why it felt like their friends saw something between them that they themselves had been too cautious or too blind to see. The first part of their story ended with all of them watching. And Emma finally realizing that maybe she didn't mind being watched at all. The morning after the porch lights and fireplace moments, the cabin felt different. There was a quiet energy in the air, one that seemed to hum just beneath the surface. Emma woke early, as she usually did, and slipped outside with her coffee, the cool Vermont breeze brushing her face. The lake mirrored the sky, calm and endless, and for the first time, she noticed it in a way that felt private, intimate, almost like the world was giving her space to breathe. Noah appeared moments later, holding 2 mugs, his hair slightly damp from the morning dew, his smile calm but attentive. Emma accepted the coffee, surprised by the warmth that spread through her chest. Warmth that wasn't from the drink. They walked in silence at first, letting the quiet settle between them. Their friends were still asleep, scattered in the cabin rooms, unaware that Emma and Noah had already slipped out. Emma took a sip of her coffee and glanced at him. Noah met her eyes for a brief second, and the subtle connection was enough to make her pulse quicken. It wasn't dramatic. There was no spark lighting up the sky, no sudden gesture that would make anyone gasp. It was small, delicate, Kate, and yet it carried a meaning that both of them understood. They started walking along the lake shore, stepping on smooth pebbles that made soft crunching sounds with each step. Emma noticed how easily their movements fell into rhythm. They didn't talk much, but each word, each laugh, each glance seemed more loaded than usual. Noah noticed the way her hair caught the light, the way her hands moved when she gestured. Emma noticed the way his jaw relaxed when he laughed, the slight tilt of his head when he listened. Meanwhile, behind the cabin windows, some of their friends had already risen. Ava and Liam peeked out, coffee in hand, silently observing, without intruding. No one said a word. They simply watched, not to embarrass, not to pry, but as if witnessing the beginning of something inevitable. Emma noticed the way Noah offered to carry a small basket of their breakfast supplies. The ease in his gestures, the natural care that felt so ordinary yet profound. She realized she was noticing more than she had before. Noticing things that made her chest ache slightly. An ache that felt like longing, curiosity, and anticipation all at once, back inside. The other friends tried to act normal, but their smiles betrayed them. Ava whispered to Liam, "Do you see how comfortable they are? It's like they've always been this close." Liam nodded, holding back a laugh. Yeah, I just hope they notice it before the weekend ends. They didn't interfere. They merely watched, letting the scene unfold, supporting it without saying anything that might scare it away. Emma and Noah wandered further along the shore, eventually reaching a small wooden dock. They stood side by side, letting the water ripple beneath them. Noah handed her a small piece of driftwood he had picked up, teasing that she could add it to her collection. She laughed, tucking it under her arm, and their hands brushed again. Longer this time, neither pulled away. Do you ever think about how small moments like this can feel enormous? Emma asked, almost to herself. Noah looked at her thoughtfully. Yeah, they sneak up on you. You notice them too late? Or maybe just in time. Emma's heart skipped. She felt a warmth in her chest she hadn't felt before. A gentle pull toward him, a curiosity about where this connection could go. The world seemed to shrink around them, leaving only the soft breeze, the gentle ripple of the lake, and the quiet rhythm of their hearts. When they returned to the cabin, the group had gathered for a light brunch. The conversation was easy, filled with laughter, teasing remarks, and shared memories. Emma noticed how everyone occasionally glanced at her and Noah. Subtle hints in their expressions that made her feel seen, understood, and quietly encouraged. She realized that their friends weren't just watching, they were silently rooting for them, providing an invisible safety net that made the space between Emma and Noah feel more welcoming, less intimidating after brunch. The group decided to take a hike up a nearby hill that offered a breathtaking overlook of the lake and surrounding forest. Emma and Noah naturally fell into step together, walking side by side. The path was uneven, small roots and rocks jutting out. But Noah instinctively offered his hand to steady her at one tricky step. She took it without hesitation, and their fingers lingered a little longer than necessary. The warmth of his hand sent a shiver of awareness through her, a sensation that was neither uncomfortable nor unwelcome. It felt like recognition of something she had been hiding from herself as they climbed higher. The forest around them seemed to fade, the trees parting to reveal the vast sky above. Emma found herself breathing deeper, feeling a sense of freedom she hadn't realized she needed. Noah glanced at her, his eyes soft, patient, kind. She met his gaze, and in that fleeting second, the unspoken understanding between them solidified. Behind them, Ava and Liam exchanged another knowing glance, quietly keeping their distance. They watched Emma and Noah walk together, smile together, move together, and there was no judgment, only gentle encouragement. Somehow, letting others watch didn't feel strange. It felt like permission. Permission to feel, permission to notice. Permission to explore the delicate tension that had grown between them overnight. Reaching the top of the hill, the view stole their words. The lake stretched endlessly, dotted with small boats, reflecting the early morning sunlight. Emma leaned slightly against Noah, feeling the warmth of his shoulder. Noah, in turn, adjusted to give her comfort, creating a bubble of intimacy within the vast open space. For a moment, they didn't speak. They didn't need to. The world below them, the gentle hum of the wind, the soft rustle of leaves, all of it seemed to exist just for this pause, this quiet recognition of connection. Emma felt her heart loosen, allowing feelings she had ignored for years to surface. Noah felt it too, the quiet thrill of discovering something new in someone he had known for a long time. Later, as they made their way down, Emma glanced at him. Do you think they notice? Noah smirked softly. Notice what that us? He shrugged lightly. Maybe they've been waiting for us to notice ourselves first. Emma laughed quietly, realizing he was probably right. Their friends weren't interfering. They were simply observers, witnesses to something that might otherwise have taken years to admit. And in that silent support, Emma felt a courage she hadn't expected. Back at the cabin, the friends settled into quiet activities, reading, journaling, light music playing in the background. Emma and Noah found themselves side by side on the porch swing, feet dangling over the edge, the lake reflecting the changing sky. They didn't speak much, letting the soft breeze and gentle rhythm of the swing carry them. Do you ever think about how small moments can feel like life-changing ones? Emma asked again, her voice barely above the whisper of the wind. Noah nodded. Yeah, especially when you notice them with the right person. Emma felt a blush she couldn't hide. The phrase right person lingered in the air, subtle but powerful. Their friends, watching from nearby windows, caught it too. Ava whispered softly, "It's starting." Finally, Liam nodded, holding back a smile. By evening, the sun had begun its descent, painting the sky in pinks and oranges. The cabin glowed with a warm light. The group gathered around casual dinners and quiet talks. Emma noticed how the entire weekend had shifted subtly. Nothing overt had happened, yet everything had changed. The watching eyes of friends, the shared moments, the gentle nudges, it all contributed to a new awareness. A feeling that something delicate and profound was unfolding. Noah stood close enough that Emma could feel the heat of his body, even through a light jacket. Their hands brushed again, accidental yet meaningful. This time, neither pulled away. The observation of their friends didn't feel invasive. It felt like an encouragement, a soft permission to explore what had been quietly growing between them. As night fell, the stars appearing above the lake, Emma realized this simple truth. She didn't mind being watched. She didn't mind being noticed. She didn't mind being understood. And Noah, standing beside her, seemed to feel the same quiet relief. The same unspoken recognition that their connection was no longer something to hide. The day ended with a calm, hopeful energy and awareness that something was blossoming, delicate and strong, and that letting others witness it had made it all feel safer, warmer, and infinitely more real. The watching wasn't judgment. It was love, support, and hope. And it allowed Emma and Noah to finally feel the beginning of something worth holding on to. Night fell over the Vermont cabin with a softness that felt almost deliberate. The sky was a deep shade of indigo, dotted with stars that shimmered over the lake. Inside, the group was winding down after another day of hiking, swimming, and quiet talks. There was an unspoken tension in the air. Gentle electricity that had been building over the weekend, but it was no longer subtle. Everyone sensed it, even if no one dared to voice it outright. Emma Collins and Noah Reed, who had spent the day together at the Overlook and on the hike, were now moving through the cabin with a quiet awareness of each other. Every glance, every small gesture carried a weight that neither could ignore. The storm had begun quietly, a soft drizzle against the windows at first, but by evening it had grown heavier. The group gathered in the living room, the cabin lights casting warm amber glows over their faces. Outside, the rain tapped rhythmically against the roof, creating a cozy cocoon. Conversations slowed. Laughter softened. It felt like the world had decided to pause for a moment, leaving only the people inside, the storm, and the quiet anticipation that filled the room. Emma found herself sitting on the couch beside Noah. She wrapped a light blanket around her shoulders, and before she realized it, he had pulled his side closer. Just enough for her to feel the warmth of his presence. They didn't speak immediately. There was no need. The quiet connection between them had grown over the weekend into something that was almost tangible. A gentle brush of his hand against hers, the way he shifted his body toward hers. Even the soft exhale when he laughed, it all carried meaning. Somewhere across the room, Ava and Liam exchanged glances again, their smiles soft and knowing. They weren't intruding. They weren't being dramatic. They were witnesses, quietly allowing Emma and Noah the space to explore their feelings, to step closer to the truth that had been lingering for days. There was comfort in their silent support. It made the unfolding connection feel safer, more real, more inevitable. As the rain fell heavier, the lights flickered briefly and then went out, plunging the cabin into darkness. Gasps and murmurs went around the room, followed by soft laughter. Candles were lit, throwing flickering shadows on the walls, casting an intimate glow over the room. In that quiet light, Emma noticed Noah's eyes catch hers, reflecting the dancing flames. Her heart thudded unexpectedly. She realized how close they were, not just physically, but emotionally. And it scared and thrilled her at the same time. "Is it strange?" Noah whispered. his voice low, that it feels like everyone knows before we do. Emma smiled softly, her breath catching. Maybe. Maybe they've been waiting for us to notice ourselves. Noah nodded. There was something about the way she said it, gentle, honest, open, that made him feel lighter, freer than he had in years. The storm outside was loud, but inside the cabin felt insulated, safe and intimate. Their friends had stepped back just enough to let them have this moment without interference, giving them the freedom to be vulnerable without embarrassment or pressure. Emma shifted slightly, letting the blanket slide around her shoulders as she turned toward him. "I've been trying not to feel it," she admitted softly. "I thought maybe it wasn't meant to be." Noah reached out, his hand hovering for a moment before brushing lightly over hers. "I've cared about you for a long time," he said. "I just didn't think you'd ever feel the same." Her heart fluttered. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't overwhelming. It was the kind of moment that sneaks up quietly, that makes every small gesture matter, that makes the world outside fade into insignificance. Emma took a deep breath and met his gaze. "I think I've been afraid to admit it, but being here with all of us, maybe it's easier to feel it now."